Hey Dana, what's going on? It's Steven. Thanks so much for your comment on my other video. So just for everyone watching, Dana asked about my Lyme disease treatment, which is actually a really long story. I first contracted Lyme disease in 2007 while traveling in New Hampshire. So it was a really long journey until I started feeling somewhat better, which was around 2010. And I guess in retrospect, those 3 years wasn't that bad compared to just like within the context of all the time that's passed. But being in those 3 years without like any vision of like what today would look like, it was really rough. So yeah, there were so many things I did treatment-wise, and so much so that I'm not exactly sure what worked, what had an effect, and what didn't. However, I do know a certain combination that I was on for at least a year before I started to get significantly better. And so that's what this story is going to be about. That's what I'm going to lead into, is that combination that worked for me. But man, with this stuff, like, you know, for one thing, Lyme disease affects people in different ways, in vastly different ways. Like for me, it was a very kind of fatiguing, brain fog type experience. Whereas for other people, like their mobility might be limited, but their like thinking is clear and it's fine. Whereas for me, like I had a lot of soreness and like muscle fatigue, but I didn't have like any mobility issues to the point where like I couldn't walk around or stuff, right? Like I didn't have to, I wasn't like paralyzed in any kind of way, like some people are. So that's something to think about. Like Lyme disease affects people differently, so the treatment for everyone, I don't expect it to be the same either. Also, in 2010 or 2009 when I started the treatment I'm about to talk about, it was kind of like one doctor's opinion in that year. I don't even know if this guy has the same opinion. I don't know if he treats Lyme the same. I don't know if there's better stuff out there. I've been kind of out of the loop because honestly, like once I was about 80% better, I ran away from everything related to Lyme disease as fast as I could. I didn't want to talk about it too much. I think I've only made maybe one video on YouTube about it, maybe two. And that was in response to another person. So kind of like how I'm making this for you. But yeah, it's just, there's probably better ways to do it now, but I don't know what they are. And if there's not better ways to do it now, gosh, like that is horrifying. And I'm so sorry to everyone going through it presently, because that means we've made like no progress in understanding what's happening, what's going on. So that would be horrible. That'd be very terrible. But you know, there seems to be, the community surrounding Lyme disease seems to be 10 times like more strong than it was like when I contracted it, which is amazing. And so I think that support is really important, and I think that's good, and I think that's part of the healing process. So yeah, like a quick brief overview of my story. Like, so I was diagnosed in 2007. Like I said, I was in New Hampshire at the time, which is not uncommon to get Lyme disease in the Northeast, at least. I live in Texas now, so it's less common to get it down here for sure. It's not impossible, but it's definitely less common. And my first symptoms initially were something called derealization, which was very closely linked to feelings of brain fog. I was having experiences of brain fog. Derealization just kind of was just a perspective shift of how I kind of perceived the world that wasn't intentional, and it was pretty bizarre. And I still have that to an extent today. So the brain fog as well. The fatigue came in pretty hardcore, and I escaped New Hampshire after having these symptoms for about 3 weeks. I drove 3 days to Texas. Well, actually, I took a detour to New York and then New Jersey, but then drove 3 days to Texas, and glad I made it in time, because probably about a week after I arrived in Texas, that's when like 20 different symptoms hit me at once. I don't, like, at the time, I could have rattled them off like I did to doctors all the time that I saw, but I just did not. Now I could not tell you what I had. It was just very terrible, though, and any kind of like 20 symptoms, it was just like, whether it was like GI issues or Like I spoke about the fatigue earlier, acid reflux, I remember being a big one, muscle soreness, muscle twitching, and I'm sure like if you're watching this video has Lyme disease in the title, you probably know what I'm talking about. So I came down here, but the first physician, well, I saw a lot of physicians about what was happening to me, but the first like Lyme literate physician I saw was in Massachusetts, and he put me on a combination of Bioxin and Plaquenil in 2007, which did nothing for me. I was on that for a year, or at least no subjective sense. I was getting worse, actually, during that time as well, and it wasn't a Herxheimer type of worse. It was like a progressive, you're getting more sick. Then I switched to tetracycline under the same physician. That didn't do anything, which was unfortunate. Here we come to skipping a lot of stuff. Like this was the first book on Lyme disease I bought. I think I bought this in 2007 actually. Don't remember anything useful being in here. This was kind of cool. This book was interesting because there's like an herbal protocol to follow, a non-pharmaceutical antibiotic herbal protocol to follow. And I don't think anything in here, like the book's called Healing Lyme, I don't think anything in this book healed me, but I found very interesting that the types of herbs in here that I bought and took and followed this protocol with the exact dosages, I did experience Herxheimer reactions from them. And for those watching who don't know what a Herxheimer reaction is, essentially when you kill the Lyme bacteria, the spirochete bacteria, it explodes and releases all kinds of toxins in your body, which make you feel like crap. And then you have to detox, and then you feel somewhat better until more bacteria die, and then you feel worse. And it's this very like bizarre, like I'm feeling terrible, now I'm like almost dead, back to terrible. It's like this very bizarre like experience within just feeling like crap all the time. I don't know if anything in here ever helped me long term, but I just thought it was very interesting that I experienced Herxheimer reactions from stuff in this book. So now we're coming up on late 2008, I think, 2009, that time period is when I saw a doctor in Louisiana who is extremely familiar with Lyme disease for being in the South, which I found pretty cool because I had been traveling up north to see doctors up there because I figured, hey, if the Northeast is where it's prominent, I'm going to go up there for treatment. That makes sense. So I saw this guy, this doctor in Louisiana. I don't know if he's still practicing or not, but I'm so happy I found him because he put me on a combination of minocycline, amoxicillin, Flagyl, and Levaquin. Those 4 antibiotics together were like the primary treatment protocol that I was on daily for a year. There was other stuff that was happening as well in terms of the things I was taking. I was definitely, at that point, I started taking liquid multivitamins every day. Doctors in the past were like, yeah, in our experience, people who are on multivitamins get well, like, not as fast, because there was some kind of theory that the bacteria feeds off the multivitamins, which maybe that's true, I don't know, but I do know that multivitamins was something that I started taking after not taking anything at all for years, and when I started that, I did start feeling better much sooner. Could have been the antibiotic protocol, but it's worth mentioning to throw in. Nothing about this is scientific. I can't repeat it. I can't go back in time and do it over again. But it's definitely, the information is like better to give it out to you guys, right? So then I was on a Neurontin and also Lyrica for a time to help with sleep. Neurontin, gabapentin, helps delivering GABA to your brain. It's kind of controversial with the GABA supplements out there that you can buy over the counter if they actually like cross the blood-brain barrier or if they're legitimate precursors to GABA. GABA is a neurotransmitter for those watching that helps you calm down, among other things. But for me, it induces a really good sense of calm. It also helps me get deep sleep. In fact, I'm wearing a Shine activity tracker. One of the things it does, other than tracks my steps, is it does track my deep sleep, because there is some correlative evidence that motion, this has an accelerometer in it, so motions with your arm while you're sleeping, there's a correlation between that and if you're in deep sleep or not. So I do find, because I still take the gabapentin to get the GABA to my brain when I sleep, I do find that when I stop taking GABA, this tells me I get less deep sleep. So, and another thing I started doing back then was not running, but I was walking and then jogging. I'd run now. Yeah, and exercise is super important. So, and in fact, like, it's kind of crazy because in 2007, I'd just be like, man, I'm sick. I need a pill so I can feel better. I don't need to exercise. I was like so it was 2007. I wasn't 17. I don't know how old I was. I think I maybe it was 19 or 20. Like, you don't need to exercise to feel better. But when I actually started doing it, like, yeah, it only increased my cognitive abilities by about 10%, but that was a significant, noticeable 10%, and why would I not want that, right? So here's what I attribute my getting better to. I don't know if it's accurate. I don't know if it would work for anyone else, but I attribute it to that antibiotic protocol that the doctor from Louisiana started me on. Like I said, it's the minocycline, amoxicillin, flagyl, and levaquin. And his theory behind this, and I don't know if this is still like accepted or not, or if it was ever accepted by anyone, is that Lyme disease has, like, the actual bacteria, the Spiroketobacteria, has different forms. In its regular spirochetal form, you can attack it with one of the cyclines, like a tetracycline, minocycline, doxycycline, etc. In its cyst form, which is like a hibernation form, you need to kill it with the flagyl, and my physician called it cyst buster, the flagyl cyst buster drug. And then the amoxicillin or bicillin, which is actually an injectable, like an intramuscular injectable amoxicillin or type of psyllin drug. That, or the oral amoxicillin, helps convert the spirochete form into the cyst form. And when it's in the hibernation form, you're less likely to have symptoms because the dudes are hibernating. They're not crawling through, digging through your tissue or anything, or into your brain. So the idea was, let's kill all the active spirochetes, let's convert everything we can to a cyst form, and then let's kill all the cyst forms. And then I was taking the levaquin for presumptive Bartonella, I think it was. Just like a potential co-infection that I don't think I tested positive for that. I think I got like an indeterminate result from an hygienics lab on that Bartonella back in 2008. So those were the 4 guys that were for me. So those 4 guys, a liquid or powdered multivitamin. The key point there is just a multivitamin that you can absorb really well. Obviously, like, it's good to get your vitamins from Whole Foods, not the store, but like foods. But when you have Lyme disease, you can't necessarily keep everything down or eat anything you want to. So definitely the multivitamins, that's number 5. And then some form of exercise, number 6. You sweat, you're detoxing. A lot of people take detox baths as well. So that stuff cleared up all of my symptoms, except for now still I have like a lingering sense of fatigue. I do have some lingering brain fog, and I do have some lingering derealization. So primarily those are the cognitive symptoms, with the exception of the fatigue, that are still bugging me. So, and unfortunately those were the symptoms that always bug me the most, which is so frustrating. Yeah, like, that protocol got me like 80% of the way there in terms of being well. So feeling fine when I was 17. Gosh, was it really? No, I wasn't 17 when I got sick. I keep saying that. I think I was like 19. Feeling fine when I was like maybe 19 years old. And then I just went down to 0%. And by 0% was like, means the worst I ever felt. And now I'm, at this point, 2015, back up to 80%. So that final 20, have no idea how I can fix it, if I can fix it. You can probably determine that the trend videos that I make on this channel has something to do with upping your brain power and making you feel better. And so it's kind of, in a way, documenting my search for that last 20%. So yeah, I think at some point in the future, and this would take time for me to actually deliver to you guys completely, and I don't even know if there's a really need for it, but at some point in the future, I will document like everything to do with the Lyme disease. But I really don't want to do it until I'm all the way there. Like, I want to go back to like 95+%, 95 or higher. And when I hit that mark, maybe I never will, then I will make a chronicle video being like, here's everything what happened. Or maybe that's not going to happen for 20 years, and I'm gonna forget my YouTube password or something, or I will never be here, or YouTube won't be here. I don't know what's gonna go on. Like, maybe YouTube will be not in our watches, but in our heads or something. I have no idea what's gonna go on in 20 years. But yeah, for now, I think this is a decent overview. I'm really curious, anyone watching, if that kind of theory about the stages of Lyme disease and how to attack, or the stages of the Lyme disease bacteria, rather, and how to attack the bacteria, if that's a theory that's like widely known and or if still accepted, if it ever was, and if anyone does kind of like oral antibiotic treatments like that. I never did any IV treatments. My insurance wouldn't pay for them when the one doctor wanted to order them. The other physicians didn't think it was necessary because I was lucky enough to catch the Lyme disease about a couple months after I got it, which did turn into a 2+ year struggle to get rid of most of it. But then again, I met some people that went years and years and years and years undiagnosed, and they have been undergoing treatment for 10+ years and still are not as well as I am. And my heart goes out to everyone in the community for any illness regarding that. So that's my overall story, or very brief story of treatment. There's a lot of other stuff I took that I'm not convinced did anything. Maybe it did. I don't know. But yeah, I'm sure at this point there's a lot more accurate, up-to-date information. But Dana, thanks for making the request. Wanted to make this video for you to fulfill it. Let me know, anyone, if y'all need anything else. Take care, guys.